This playthrough is rated M for mature.
Greetings and salutations, viewers. Vauldemare back here with more. Oh, I pressed the wrong button there. Well, I'm gonna keep going. I ruined the intro. Whatever. Anyway, greetings and salutations, viewers. Vauldemare back here with more Hakuōki, Stories of the Shinsengumi. In the last episode, we were introduced to our protagonist, Hinata Yukimura. I might call her Yukimura just because it's the same family name throughout no matter what you choose for first name. Anyway, Yukimura was out. We'll just call her first name. Whatever. Hinata was out trying to find her father, who'd gone missing in Kyoto. Unfortunately, she got herself into a bit of trouble by being chased by 3 Ronin, who were immediately disemboweled by these 3 men in white hair and blue coats. Can Hinata survive this encounter? Let's find out. I had to run. I couldn't die yet. But my legs refused to move. That hideous, cackling laughter began again. I was gonna die. My body was frozen with terror. I couldn't even scream. This was it. This was the end. What? I watched them raise their bloody swords, the moon glinting off the metal. Then there was a flash of light, and a soft splash of blood. I could feel it, warm and sticky. Bile began to rise in my throat, but before disgust took hold, I heard a voice. And now we come to 2 of the male NPCs that will be integral to the story, and as important depending on how I choose my answers. Really? The words suggested disappointed, but the voice sounded happy. And here I was, planning to take care of them all on my own. Couldn't you have picked another day to work so fast, Saito? As he spoke, the strange man smiled, almost as if he was enjoying himself. I only did my job. Unlike you, I take no pleasure in battle. Well, that's not a very nice thing to say. He laughed. You don't even bother to deny it. The man called Saito sighed with an air of a long-suffering companion and looked over at me. Maybe, but if you just sat back and let them kill the kid, you could have saved us some trouble. His tone was light, but his words confirmed my fears. I left the frying pan, yes, but I was now in the fire. Perhaps that decision is not ours to make. Huh? Then there was someone in charge of these 2? Their conversation seemed to suggest they were part of an organization of some sort. As I thought about it, I remembered hearing stories of a group of men with blue coats. My thoughts were interrupted by a dark shape sliding into view. I swallowed hard. The moonlight shone off his smooth dark hair. For reasons I couldn't fathom, in that moment, the light of his hair made me think of fluttery flower petals, almost as if the cherry blossoms were blooming out of season. Now, I'm trying to think of what voice to give this guy. I've already used my deep voice and my light-hearted voice. I don't have a lot of other options. Oh man, I can't even think about what voice I need to use an accent if I can't use a voice. Let's see, he's supposed to be a serious character. He's basically the leader of the group. Luck is not your friend tonight. His voice was cold and quiet, like a blade of ice. Blue-white moonlight lit his slender face and shone from the blade he had pointed at my chest. But it wasn't the sword that made my breath catch in my throat. It was his eyes. They were fierce and hard, but somewhere behind them I could catch a glimpse of something else. There could be no doubt that he was prepared to kill me. And he looked troubled. Not kindness, but perhaps mercy.
いいか、逃げるなよ。背を向ければ切る。
Run and I will kill you. Do you understand? I nodded. There was no doubt he meant every word he said. He stared at me for a moment, then grimaced, and with a sigh put his sword away. What? I was too surprised to stop myself from speaking, and it quickly became apparent that I wasn't the only one.
あれ？いいんですか、土方さん。この子、さっきの見ちゃったんですよ。
What? Wait. Hijikata? Are you sure about this? This kid saw, well, everything. That can't be good. As he spoke to the man he called Hijikata, his eyes narrowed. The man called Hijikata frowned back at him.
いちいち余計なこと喋るんじゃねえよ。
Shut up!
下手な話を聞かせちまうと、始末せざるを得なくなるだろうが。
If you keep that up, you will know what we are going to have to do. I wasn't quite sure what they meant, but it was clear enough that what I had seen was something they wanted to keep hidden. Still, the more they said, the more I understood, despite the fact that none of us wanted such a thing.
この子を生かしておいても、厄介なことにしかならないと思いますけどね。
I really think it's gonna come back to bite us in the ass if we let this kid go. The way he looked at me made me feel as if he'd read my mind. Perhaps it'd be best if I didn't think too hard about things I wasn't supposed to think about.
とにかく殺せばいいってもんじゃねえだろう。こいつの処分は帰ってから決める。
So, we should just kill people so they don't bother us later? No, I'll decide what we're going to do with this kid when we get back.
俺は副長の判断に賛成です。長くとどまれば他の人間に見つかるかもしれない。
I agree with the commander. If we remain here, we are likely to be seen again. The man they called Saito spoke with quiet confidence. He glanced around, possibly looking for other witnesses. Then he looked down at the creatures he had killed, almost as though he'd forgotten the whole ordeal.
こうも血に狂うとは実務に使える代物ではありませんね。
If they have this sort of reaction to blood, they don't seem like they'll be very practical.
頭の痛い話だ。まさかここまでひどいとはな。
Dim, I didn't think they'd gotten this bed. He peered down at the corpse, his face a motionless mask. When he looked back up at his companions, however, his eyes narrowed.
つかお前ら、土方とか副長とか呼んでんじゃねえよ。伏せろ。
As for you two, drop the Hijikata and commander stuff. We're supposed to be keeping a low profile.
へえ、伏せるも何も大服着てる時点でバレバレだと思いますけど。
What? Come on, you can't be serious. You don't think our blue are a bit of a giveaway already? He was right. Even I had heard stories about a gang of cruel men in blue coats who cut people down in the streets. But no, don't think. Ignore them. I don't know why that's a funny reaction. I did my best to be stern with myself, but it came out sounding more pleading than commanding. My mind swirled with thoughts and worries. I was being drawn into the world. A world where there is nothing strange in carrying on a normal conversation in the dead of night with corpses for company.
死体の処理はいかように、肉体的な異常は特に現れていないようですか。
What should we do with the bodies then? There doesn't seem to be any physical signs, but... Hijikata thought for a moment before he spoke.
羽織だけ脱がせとけ。あとは山崎君が何とかしてくれんだろう。
Just take their blues. Yamazaki can deal with the rest.
御意。
As you wish.
大使が切り殺されてるなんて僕たちにとっても一大事ですしね。
Another man cut down the street, huh? Doing a great job, aren't we? He gave a derisive bark of laughter.
あとは俺らが黙ってりゃ世間も勝手に納得してくれるだろうよ。
So long as we keep our mouths shut, I don't think anyone will connect us with this. He looked directly at me when he spoke. I got the distinct feeling that his words weren't meant for his companions. It was common for people to be murdered in Kyoto. It was a dangerous city after all. I knew that, of course. but to see it happen, it was something else entirely. If death was such an easy thing in Kyoto, I thought the city itself must surely be mad.
ねえ、ところでさ、助けてあげたのにお礼の一つもないの？
Ah, yeah, we did save you, didn't we? Aren't you gonna thank us? Huh? I didn't realize immediately that he was speaking to me. When I did, my eyes went wide. What do you mean you saved me? Well, he did have a point. Despite their threats, they had saved my life. I stood up as steadily as I could manage, brushed off some of the dirt off my clothes, and bowed. Thank you very much. I apologize for not thanking you earlier. There was so much going on. I was a little confused. I glanced up at them tentatively. The man called Saito was showing some confusion of his own. His eyes were wide, and he had an expression I couldn't place. Hijikata looked as though he had taken a bite of something sour. I know it seems weird to say that, but he told me I should say thanks, so I looked up, and Saito and Hijikata were both looking pointedly at anything but me. The third man was shaking with laughter.
あ、ごめん。そうだよね。僕が言ったんだもんね。
Oh man, well, my apologies. I certainly did tell you to, didn't I? He broke out in laughter again, so much so that he was forced to wipe a few tears from his eyes as he straightened up.
どういたしまして。僕は沖田総司と言います。礼儀正しい子は嫌いじゃないよ。
Well, you're welcome. I'm Soji Okita. Nice to meet a kid who knows how to be polite. Thank you for helping me. Not quite sure what else to do. I bowed again.
わざわざ自己紹介してんじゃねえよ。
What the hell do you think you're doing, Okita?
副長、お気持ちはわかりますが、まず移動を。
Commander, I understand your concerns, but we must move. Whatever mirth I may have inspired gone, the man called Saito spoke with quiet urgency. Hijikata nodded. The man who called himself Okita grabbed hold of my wrist, gave me a smile, and began to lead me down the street. His grip was a touch too tight to be friendly, his fingers like iron cables around my arms. There was no question about my situation. If I ran, I would die. Quickly at least, still. Even if I did, as I was told, my life was in the hands of these strange men. I set my jaw and stood up as straight as I could. My eyes met those of Saito as he looked up from the bloodstained coat.
己のために最悪を想定しておけ。さしていいようには転ばない。
It would be best if you prepared for the worst. I doubt this will end well for you. His words were like a dagger in my stomach. What was going to happen to me? Was I going to die? As we walked through the cold Kyoto night, I felt horror began to crawl its way up my spine once again. The cause of my horror wasn't the gruesome end that almost certainly awaited me, but something else entirely. I had spoken with these men, and watched them speak to one another, not feet from a still-warm corpse soaked in blood. That I had done such a thing terrified me in an altogether different way. Perhaps I thought that this is what it's like to go mad. Hey, we're not dealing with Cthulhu here. Calm down, lady. Chapter 1. January 1864. Same month, different day. It's gonna get better, not get worse. Huh. Was it morning? Huh. What had happened to me? Ah, yes. Right. All at once, the events of the previous night rushed back. If only this was my room, I thought. They had tied me up quite well, so all I could do was wriggle around in the bed, twisting the blankets around me. I wished pointlessly. I knew that I were back home, waking up on my warm futon. If only this were all a very strange nightmare. But it was not. I had met those men the night before. They had already taken me with them. to the headquarters of the Shinsengumi. Bum, bum, bum. Shinsengumi, a military unit made up of ronin, the purpose of which was to restore public order in Kyoto and counteract the local anti-shogunate forces. What will happen to me now? I sighed and lay down to await my fate. It was at that moment that the door slid open, and a kind-looking man stepped through.
Ah, 目が覚めたかい?
You know, I know this guy doesn't have a lot, if I remember, doesn't have a lot of lines in the game. He looks like your typical Japanese samurai. Out of all the metrosexual designed men, he's the only one that actually looks like he could actually be a samurai from that time. But, you know, design choices and stuff like that. I see you waking up. I was trying to do a French accent, but not very well. With a soft smile, he introduced himself as Inui. Inui? Genzaburo Inui, captain of the Shinsengumi 6th Division. A native of Edo, he studied swordplay with Kondo, Hijikata, and Okida. He is sometimes called Gin by his friends.
すまんな、こんな扱いで。今縄を緩めるから少し待ってくれ。
I'm sorry we had to. I am sorry we had to treat you this way. Hold on a moment. I'll loosen the ropes, all right? His smile quirked as he removed my works, working quickly and skillfully. My wrists, however, were left bound. Oh, thank you. I bowed and he let out a short laugh.
ちょっと来てくれるかい?
Now, if you follow me.
今朝から幹部連中であんたについて話し合っているんだが。
They've been discussing what to do with you since morning.
あんたが何を見たのか確かめておきたいってことになってね。
For now, they've decided to hear what exactly it was you saw last night. Okay. I nodded and did my best to stand up. My body's still a bit unsteady from being tied up all night. Talk about bondage ritual. The man who called himself Inui was very polite and almost kind. It was quite clear that I was to do as I was told. He must have been able to guess my thoughts because he smiled at me and winked.
心配しなくても大丈夫さ。なりは怖いが気のいい奴らだよ。
You don't need to worry. I know they seem scary, but they're all really very nice. Oh. I wasn't sure what to think of that. Even at home, I'd heard rumors of the vicious Shinsengumi. They weren't pleasant rumors. It was hard to imagine that the people in charge of such an organization were nice. And scene change. It's like a Broadway play or something like that. Inui led me to a room and opened the door. I stepped inside and found myself surrounded by the leaders of the Shinsengumi. Their eyes dug into me like so many knives. I froze, just past the threshold, and swallowed.
おはよう。昨日はよく眠れた?
Good morning! I hope you slept well. Oh, I remember Okida. Perhaps it was because I was surrounded by strange men, but it was somehow comforting to see a face I recognized. Okida. Tsuji Okida, captain of the Shinsengumi's 1st Division. He is a native of Edo, a brilliant swordsman who studied swordplay with Kondo and Hijikata. Soji is basically the light-hearted. You know how like in, you know how when they have male games and they have romance with the female characters, and sometimes they'll have like one of the light-hearted female characters. It's the same with this. He's supposed to represent the comedian / light-hearted character who seems to not have a care in the world. But obviously, that's not all true. Anyway. Even if it was the face of a rather frightening man who was almost certainly willing and able to kill me, well, it wasn't particularly comfortable. I chose my words carefully.
そうなんだ.
Really? His face twisted sideways into a grin.
さっき僕が声をかけた時には、君全然起きてくれなかったけど?
Because when I went to have a look at you earlier, you didn't budge no matter what I poked. Wait, what? Sorry, wait, what? Okida's grin widened as my face turned red. Saito rolled his eyes. Saito. Hajime Saito, captain of the 3rd Division of the Shinsengumi. He is a native of Edo. He wields a sword in his left hand and fights with incredible skill. If there had to be a tsundere of this game, although I don't think he's true tsundere, but he's the closest to that being that representative in this game for the female character to talk to. Best explanation, not the best explanation, but the best I can give at this time. Anyway.
からかわれているだけだ。掃除はお前の部屋になんか行っちゃいない。
He's only teasing you. Soji didn't go anywhere near your room. Quite silent, I stared at Okita. Or is it Okita? And whatever. With this grin still playing about his face, he glanced over to Saito.
もう少し君の反応を見たかったんだけどな。はじめくんもひどいよね。勝手にバラすなんてさ。
I don't think they know if she's a woman quite yet. I think they find out soon, if I remember correctly. Ah, I just wanted to see you squirm a little. Not very nice of you, Hajime, calling me out like that. I don't think Saito did anything wrong. You, on the other hand.
おい、てめえら。無駄口ばっか叩いてんじゃねえよ。
Shoot it! You sound like a bunch of kids. I'm starting to make him sound like a weird Hispanic accent for some reason. Hijikata's voice brooked no further insubordination. Okita shrugged and was silent, but the smile stayed in his eyes. Toshizo Hijikata, the commander of the Shinsengumi, he is a longtime friend of Kondo and helped him form the Shinsengumi in Kyoto. Kondo calls him Toshi. Toshi is he's basically the like it says the commander of the group. He's serious, but he's like got enough of a force of personality to not be like Saito, who's all to himself and doesn't speak very much, only to the point. It's kind of hard to fix him as basically he's the man in power character. You know how like in like the male romance and female characters, there's always one character who's like either commander or leader or who has leadership or not aggressive power but power, and some people like that, like a powerful presence. And so that's what he represents in this choice of characters.
でさ、土方さん。そいつ
So
は目撃者。
I'm sorry. So Hijikata, this your witness? The man who spoke was, well, he looked more like a boy than a man. I'd imagine the leaders of the Shinsengumi to be old, or at least middle-aged, but they all looked quite young. Well, in war, you don't live to a ripe old age. In fact, they looked rather like a group of young thugs.
ちっちゃいし細っこいな。まだガキじゃん、こいつ。
He's a real stick, huh? Just a kid. This was Todo. Todo? I'm gonna say Todo, even though that's wrong. Heisuke Todo, captain of the Shinsegumi's 8th Division. He is from Edo. He is the youngest captain and is known for being particularly energetic. Basically, the game explains he's the kid character. Not quite Shoto, whatever that's called. I can't believe I even know what the term is. Basically, the young character, plucky, needs like not quite looked down, but you know he has a lot to prove, and being the youngest. I don't know if he is the youngest, but oh no, the game says. Never mind. Derp. Shoot me in the brain for that. But yeah, basically represents the very young character that the girl can get to know. On her way from my bed, Inoue had given me a brief description of the people I was about to meet. Supposedly, Todo was the youngest captain in the Shinsengumi.
お前がガキとか言うなよ、平助。
They're calling him a kid, Eisuke? That's right. Oh no, that's the Australian accent. Crap. You're calling him a kid, Eisuke? That's rich. He chuckled as he spoke, but the way he looked at me suggested there was little he missed despite his humor.
だな。世間様から見りゃ、お前もこいつも似たようなもんだろうよ。
Right you are. To anyone else, I'll bet the two of you just look like another pair of scrawny little blitz. The man across from him nodded with brows drawn, as if he was quite serious about the subject. And I'm gonna mess up my voices eventually, so forgive me on that. However, I remembered Inoue telling me that two of the men in particular were somewhat immature, to put it nicely. He had said that the one with short hair was Nagakura, and the one with longest hair was Harada.
うるさいな、おじさん二
Sorry,
人は
folks,
黙
I
っ
didn't
て
mean
な
to do
よ。
that. I was gonna look at their encyclopedia entry and I forgot. I'll try to do it off screen, I guess. Well, we've learned a couple of things have happened to our main protagonist Hinata. She almost got attacked and the Shinsengumi saved her, but now she seems to be a prisoner in her locale. And now we're being introduced to the full gang. But what is the full game truly like, and what will Hinata end up having to do? Hopefully it's not that horrible that we cannot show on screen. Find out next time on Hakuōki, Stories of the Shinsengumi. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next episode.